Hello students. So today is my 7th video, and in the last video, if you remember, we talked about comparison. We are going to discuss structures we use to talk about comparisons. But in comparing today, we are not going to talk about adjectives, we are going to talk about adverbs. We are going to talk about adverbs. And remember, we said last time, that adjectives often come before nouns and their function is to describe the noun. However, adverbs come after verbs, and what they do, they describe the action or they describe the verbs. Now, most of adverbs are formed by adding the syllable ly. For example, intelligent adjective, intelligently, comfortable, comfortably, thoughtful, thoughtfully, ly, beautiful, beautifully. Okay, we talked about this girl. This girl made an experiment. So, the title of the text we read was Staying in Touch, keeping in touch, or chatting with friends via internet, social media. So, this girl, Sue Weeks, made an experiment on whether meeting friends face to face or meeting or chatting with friends using social media, using the internet. Okay, now, just to help you remember the text, about the things we talked about the text, so today we are going to read again. So I'm going to read again. Staying in touch. Modern life is getting busier and busier. And the busier it gets, the more isolated people can feel. These days, people have fewer opportunities to meet friends because they work harder and have less time to socialize. So the meaning of socializing is when you go out and meet friends outside. Some say that social networking sites like Facebook, like LinkedIn, or like Instagram, social networking sites allow them to stay in touch with friends more easily. So you see here easily, we've got the ly. The ly that we form the adverb with, because the adjective is easy, and we've got more. So this is a comparative form using an adverb. Sue Weeks, and that's the girl, decided to test this theory. So what did she do? So she stayed at home for a week and only contacted her friends via Facebook. And Facebook is one of the most popular social networking sites. Her view, her opinion, her outcome. It was great for staying in touch with friends I don't see very often or who live far away. But it wasn't the most exciting week I've ever had. The least appealing. Now look, the least is the superlative form of less with the adjective appealing. The least appealing aspect for Sue was not seeing the people she gets on with best. Superlative form of good. Her final verdict was, it was more fun Fun and countable noun, more fun than I expected. But it's less satisfying than meeting people face to face. It's less satisfying than meeting people face to face. Excellent. So we've got some words that are highlighted in the text. Now some are highlighted in blue and others are highlighted in red. So what are we going to do? First, we're going to talk about some rules, about some comparative structures or some forms we use anytime we deal with comparing. Now, comparative and superlative adverbs. Comparative and superlative adverbs. So, remember, I said we're not going to talk about adjectives. Today we're going to talk about adverbs. And most of English adverbs are formed with the syllable ly. But there are exceptions. There are exceptions. Now, some adverbs are not formed with the ly. These adverbs are like hard, fast, early, and late. So remember, adverbs: hard, late, fast, early. Now, hard, late, fast, early are adverbs, but they can also be used as adjectives. So hard, late, fast, early. So when I use them as adverbs describing the verb or describing the action, now can I add ly? Now, can I say hardly? No. Can I say lately? No. Can I say fastly? No. Can I say earlyly? No. So these are adverbs: hard, late, fast, and early. Now, comparative and superlative adverbs. We usually form comparative and superlative adverbs with more and most. With more and most. However, we add er and est to some adverbs. Okay, so some adverbs that have either one syllable, or are irregular adverbs. So, listen. Please speak more slowly. Please speak more slowly. More slowly. Now, slowly is an adverb. Now, what's the adjective of slowly? It's slow. So, the comparative form of the adjective slow, we should add the er. So, slower than. But here we've got the ly that we are using to form the adverb slowly. So, in this way, it becomes more slowly. So please speak more slowly. Now, Tom works harder. Tom works harder than Sam. Now, look at harder. Is it an adjective or an adverb? Is it an adjective or an adverb? It's an adverb. Because hard, the adverb hard, describes the verb. Because we can ask this question: how does Tom work? How does Tom work? Now, the adverb describes the way Tom works. So, Tom works harder than Sam. Excellent. Now, less and least. Less and least. Less is the opposite of more. Less is the opposite of more. Least is the opposite of most. The most intelligent, the least intelligent, if we talk about adjectives. Now, we can use them with adjectives or with adverbs. So, not just adjectives, but also adverbs and uncountable nouns. And uncountable nouns. Uncountable nouns. Excellent. So look, my dad bought the least expensive TV in the shop. My dad bought the least expensive TV in the shop. Question, who earns less money? Who earns less money? Now look at money. Money is a noun. It's not an adverb, it's not an adjective. And so what kind of noun is it, money? It's an uncountable noun. And we said we can use them with non-count nouns, uncountable nouns. So who earns less money? Teachers or nurses? Teachers or nurses? So again, let's repeat the rules again. So we usually form comparative and superlative adverbs with more and most. However, we add ER and EST to some adverbs. Please speak more slowly. Please speak more slowly. Adverb slowly. Tom works harder. Hard, the adverb hard, than Sam. Now, less and least. Less is the opposite of more, and least is the opposite of most. Superlative. We can use them with adjectives, adverbs, and uncountable nouns. Uncountable nouns. So, my dad bought the least expensive TV in the shop. Who earns less money? Teachers or nurses? Teachers or nurses? So, let's put these rules into practice. So, let's put these rules into practice. So, what are we going to do now? Now, we said some words in the text are highlighted in red. Now, we are going to match the words in the red color, in red, in the text with the descriptions 1, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So, in the text, where we try to find out, well, words in red. We're going to find a comparative form of an adjective. A comparative form of an adjective with less in the text. A comparative form of an adjective with less. A comparative form of an adjective with less. Work, they work harder. No, harder is an adverb. Less time. No, time is not an adjective. A comparative form. More easily. Easily is not an adjective. No. Most popular. Most is superlative, it's not a comparative form. Now, the least appealing. No, this is a superlative form. Best, superlative form of the irregular adjective good. Less satisfying. Number 1 is less satisfying. Less, comparative form, the opposite of more, and satisfying is the adjective. Now, number 2. Let's try to find among the words in red, or the words that are highlighted in red, a superlative form of an adjective with least. Adjective with least. Superlative, least. Superlative, least. Least superlative, less comparative, and the adjective is little. Little. So, least with an adjective and superlative form. Least with an adjective. Least with an adjective. Here it is. The least appealing. Another adjective. appealing adjective, the least. Superlative form. The least appealing, superlative form. Three, a comparative form of an adverb, and not an adjective, an adverb with more. Comparative, using more, but an adverb, more. More easily. More easily. Comparative form with an adverb, easily. Now, easily, adverb, from the adjective easy. Now, because if we're using the adjective easy, now we should just drop the Y and say easier, easier, easier if you are dealing with the adjective. But here we're not dealing with the adjective, we're using the adverb easily. So, more easily. Next. A comparative form with an adverb, not adjective, adverb with ER. So it's an adverb, it's not an adjective, with ER as a comparative form. Okay, people have fewer opportunities to meet friends because they work harder. They work harder. How do they work? They work harder. They work harder. So hard is an adverb. And remember, the adverb hard or the adjective hardworking, because the adjective of hard here should be hardworking. Like this student is a hardworking student. So hardworking is the adjective, but the adverb is hard. 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 Adverb. Now, adverb hard, we cannot say hardly. Hardly is something else. Hardly is something else. But if we're using hard as an adverb, we say hard. Late. Late. Adverb. Now don't think of lately, because lately has a different meaning. Fast. Fast, we cannot say fastly. We say fast. A fast driver, adjective, a fast driver, he drives fast. We cannot say he drives fastly, fast. Now early, like early birds in the morning, early birds. Birds wake up early. Birds wake up early, early. Excellent. Now next. Five. Now, let's try to find out an irregular superlative. An irregular superlative. Now, you know the irregular adverbs and the irregular adjectives. An irregular superlative form of an adverb. An irregular superlative form of an adverb. Okay. Now, the least appealing aspect for Sue, for the girl, was not seeing the people she gets on with best. She gets on with best. Superlative of the irregular adjective good and the adverb well. Because what's the adverb of good? The adverb of good is well. Well, so her final verdict. So that's best. And next, Number 6, an uncountable noun with less. So, an uncountable noun. Now, you know the difference between, now this is very elementary. Now, you should know the difference between countable nouns and uncountable nouns. Countable, nouns or words that we can count. Now, an uncountable noun with less. Less. An uncountable noun with less time. So you see, time is neither an adjective nor an adverb. Time is a noun. So what kind of noun is time? Is it a countable noun or an uncountable noun? It's an uncountable noun. Less time. Less time. More fun. Less fun. Excellent. Number 7, let's try to find a superlative form of an adjective with most. An adjective with most. Most, superlative form. With most. An adjective with most. An adjective with most. One of the most popular social networking sites. Adjective, popular. She stayed at home for a week and only contacted her friends via Facebook. One of the most popular social networking sites. Excellent. Now, comparison. The comparative and superlative of adjectives or adverbs with one syllable is formed by adding er and est. With one syllable. With one syllable. So, words with one syllable are often called monosyllabic words. They contain only one syllable and usually only one vowel. Only one vowel. So, whether they are adjectives or adverbs, what do? When we deal with comparative and superlative, we add er or est. Or est for superlative. So, we follow the same pattern with two syllable or bisyllabic words or adjectives or adverbs that end in y. We're going to find out. For example, here we got subject plus verb, comparative form of an adjective / adverb, and the object. Now listen. John is older. John is older than Sue. So old here is a one-syllable adjective, one syllable, and thus in the comparative form we add the er, older. John is older than Sue. Now, John is slim, one syllable, slimmer than Sue. Now, John is busy, two syllables. The adjective ends with y. Busy. Now remember, we said words with two syllables that end with, or adjectives with two syllables, or adverbs with two syllables that end with y. So what do? We drop the y and put ier. Busier. John is busier than Sue. John is busier than Sue. Now, old adjective, slim adjective, busy adjectives. Now look at fast. Now we said fast here comes after the verb to run. So consequently, it describes the verb. So consequently, is it an adjective? No, it's not. It's an adverb. Because if we ask the question, how does John run? He runs fast. So this is an adjective. This is an adjective. So this is an adverb, sorry. This is an adverb. So John runs faster than Sue. Adverb, fast. Adverb. Excellent. Now, superlative form of adjectives and adverb. Subject plus verb. Listen, this is superlative. John is the oldest. John is the oldest. Adjectives. John is the slimmest. Superlative, est, slim. Now you have to notice, because in here in slim, we've got a short vowel preceding the last consonants, so we need to double the consonants, the slimmest. John is the busiest. And John runs the fastest. Adverb, the fastest. Excellent. Now, the comparative and superlative forms of adjectives or adverbs with 2 or more syllables. With 2 syllables, now remember, with 2 syllables if they do not end with Y. With 2 or more, 3 syllables, 4 syllables. Now, syllables are formed by adding more or the most. More in the comparative and most in the superlative. Adjectives or adverbs. Now, John is more famous than Sue. Adjective. John is more popular than Sue. Adjective. John talks more clearly than Sue. Clearly. Adverb. John talks more clearly. Adverb. Now look, here we've got a verb. Here we've got a verb, but here with to be, we've got a predicate. So sometimes the verb to be now is followed by adjectives. But here we've got what we call an action verb. So talks clearly. So how does Tom talk? Clearly, adverb. So John talks more clearly than Sue. Now, subject verb, superlative form of an adjective or an adverb, superlative. Now listen, John is the most popular. Adjective. And with the adverb, John talks the most clearly. Adverb. Clearly. John talks the most clearly. Superlative form. Excellent. We can also form comparatives and superlatives of adjectives and adverbs with less and the least. Less, if we use it as the opposite of more, and the least if we can use it as the opposite of the most. Now, less is the opposite of more, and least is the opposite of most. Now, subject verb comparative form of an adjective or adverb. Object. Sue is less slim. Sue is less slim. Less slim than John. Sue is less famous. Adjectives, but here we are using less. So famous than John. Now with the adverbs, Sue talks less clearly than John. Now, subject and verb with least. Superlative form of an adjective or an adverb. Sue is the least popular. The least popular. The least popular. Sue talks the least clearly. The least Okay, now, irregular adjectives. Irregular adjectives. Now, these irregular adjectives, now you know them already because you have been studying them in middle schools. You know them. So, adjective good, bad, far. Comparative better, worse, and further. The best superlative, the worst, and the furthest. So, irregular adjectives. Because my focus today is not on adjectives, it's on adverbs. Now look, we've got some prompts, and let's try to make comparative sentences with them. Henry passed his exams easily, Philip. Now, easily. Here, have we got an adjective or an adverb? Look at easily. Easily is an adverb. So, Henry passed his exams more easily than Philip. Henry passed his exams more easily than Philip. Because easily is an adverb. Is it okay? So if we got the adjective easy, if we're using the adjective easy, so we cannot use more because easy, easier than with the adjective. But here we've got the adverb. Now, 2, Yanthe works quickly, Emily. Yanthe works more quickly than Emily. Quickly, just like easily, adverb. Joseph drives better than Zach. Comparative. Now we said well is the adverb. The adjective is good. The adverb is well. The comparative form is better and the superlative form is best or the best. Andrea sings beautifully, adverb, Leah. Andrea sings more beautifully than Leah. Max speaks more loudly than George. Victor usually arrives later than Alice. Adverb late. Alice. Okay, complete the sentences with the superlative form of the adverbs in brackets. So, we're going to use the superlative construction using the given adverbs. And look at these adverbs. Carefully, slowly, early, hard, fluently, and fast. Geoff draws superlative. Geoff draws the most carefully. The most carefully. Andrew ran the 10-kilometer race the most slowly. The most slowly. Jude always gets up the most early. The most early. The most early or the earliest. The most early. The earliest. Okay, now 4. Of all our class, Matthew tries the hardest. The hardest. Just like the earliest. The earliest and the hardest. 5. Chris speaks French the most fluently of all of us. Of all of us. Kate finishes her homework, superlative, the fastest. The fastest. Kate finishes her homework the fastest. Now, let's try to rewrite these sentences using less or the least. 1. Tracy and Pat are more intelligent than Emma. Tracy and Pat are more intelligent than Emma. So this makes Emma the least intelligent of the three girls. Emma is the least intelligent of the three girls. Now 2, Emma is hard-working. Hard-working. Now hard-working, here is the adjective of hard, of the adverb hard. Hard-working. Then Tracy. Emma is more hard-working than Tracy. So this makes Tracy less hard-working than Emma. 3, Pat is more popular than Emma. So this makes Emma less popular than Pat. 4, Ben and Isaac are more generous than Craig. Ben and Isaac are more generous than Craig. So this makes Craig is the least generous of the three boys. Now, Craig is more confident than Isaac. Isaac is less confident than Craig. Excellent. Now, Rome is less rainy than London. Rainy. Adjective. Rome is less rainy than London or Paris. Rome, now we've got the 3 cities, so we need the superlative. So, Rome is the least rainy of the 3 cities. The least rainy of the 3 cities. And that's right. Now, okay, so in our text we've got words highlighted in red and others highlighted in blue. Highlighted in blue. Now, look at rule number 1. Rule number 1. We often use a superlative form with the present perfect and ever. Now, you know the present perfect tense. The present perfect tense is formed with the auxiliary to have in the present simple plus the past participle of the verb with ever. And be careful about the position of ever whenever you use the present perfect. Okay, now look, that's the least funny film I've ever seen. I have, and look at the position of ever and seen. So, ever should be put between the auxiliary have in the present simple and the past participle of the verb to see. That's the least funny film I have ever seen. So you see, superlative forms can be used with present perfect tense and ever. Today is the hottest day I have ever lived or I have ever seen. Now, number 2, we can make comparisons with simple nouns. She's more confident than her brother. Simple noun. And also with clauses. With simple nouns or clauses. Now, look at the clause, at this clause. She's less talkative, adjective, she's less talkative than she used to be. Now, here's the clause. Than she used to be. Now, we use double comparatives, to say that something is changing. You are getting taller and taller. And this is what we call the double comparative. Life is getting more and more expensive. Now, the days are getting hotter and hotter. Cars, let's say, are getting less and less affordable, for example, because they're getting expensive. Now, we use the the, and comparatives to say that one thing changes with another. I'm going to explain it. The. When things are dependable, we use the. Now look, when we talk about things that change with others, that two things are dependable on each other. Now look at this example. The more I eat, the fatter I get. The more I eat, the fatter I get. The more I practice sport, the more I work out, the better I feel, or the fitter I get. Now, this is what we call the double comparative. Now, we can practice. For example, let's use these prompts, these words. Now look, here we've got the interesting book, and we've got the verb to read. Here we've got good friend, have, verb have. Now boring film, to see. Attractive person, to meet. Or long phone call, to make. Or a good party to go to. And the question is here, let's try to practice to use the present perfect and ever. For example, look, that's the most / or least interesting book you've ever read. Present perfect. That is the most interesting or the least interesting book you have ever read. An example. Okay. Now, good friend, to have. Good friend, to have. Using the present perfect and ever. For example, I've got here, for example, Abdul Hakim. So, Abdul Hakim is the best friend I have ever had, for example. Now, Abdul Hakim is taking care of me here. So, Abdul Hakim is the best friend I have ever had. Now, boring film, to see. Boring film, to see. Superlative, present perfect with ever. Let's say, this is or that is the most boring film I have ever seen. I have ever seen. Now, number 4. Attractive person, the verb to meet. She was the most attractive person I have ever met. She's or she was or she is the most attractive person I have ever met. Long phone call to make. Now, yesterday, for example. Now, yesterday, I talked to a friend on the phone, we chatted on the phone, and it was the longest phone call I have ever made. Present perfect. A good party to go to. That was the best party I have ever been to. I have ever been to. Excellent. Now, okay. Now, we talked about, we often use the superlative form with the present perfect and ever. It was the best holiday we've ever had. It was the best holiday we've ever had. Comparative adjectives and adverbs can be followed by either nouns or clauses. For example, Peter is taller than he used to be. Here's the clause. He used to be. Peter is taller than he used to be. Here's the clause. Or simply with nouns. Peter is taller than Abdul Hakim, for example. Okay, now, when we compare two things, or people, we can use as, as to say these two things or these two people are equal or the same. As, but we have to put the adverb or the adjective in between. Now look, Jill is as old as Julie. Now, as old. Now this means that they've got the same age. As. Now, to say that something becomes better, if you remember, we just talked about when things change, a situation changes. So, to say that something becomes better, bigger, or more expensive, etc., we use the comparative adjectives with and in between. Where we have a long adjective, we use more, and more plus the base adjective or adverb. For example, it's getting more and more expensive to drive. And that's right, because the driver's license is getting expensive, it's becoming more and more expensive, and cars are getting more and more expensive. And that's right, it's getting more and more expensive to drive. Now, to express dependence, one thing depending on the other thing. To express dependence of two elements in comparative forms, for example, the longer I stay up, now look, the longer I stay up, the more tired will be tomorrow. The more tired I will be tomorrow. We use the article the plus comparative adjective. The more I see you, the more I like you. The more I see you, the more I like you. Excellent. So that's all for this video, and I will be right back soon. Thank you so much.